Hi everyone, today I wanted to do a video on slicing to help you understand what it is and to give you examples of why you would want to use it. So to put slicing in very simple terms, slicing would be the same as taking a cookie cutter and cutting out a cookie in dough. So for my first example, what I've done is I've gone to shapes and I have selected a circle and a heart, and then I've just gone up here and I've changed the color of each so that you can see it easier. So what I'm going to do is if I click on my heart, I can hold down the shift button and then I can click on the circle in the layers panel. And what that has done is that has selected both items. I can also drag a box around both of the items. And once I've done either of those, what you will see, a slice has lit up in my actions panel. So I'm going to click on slice, and what I have done is I have the cookie cutter on top that I can take off. I have my cookie in the middle, and then I have the leftover dough. For the next example, I want to show you when you slice, you can only slice 2 layers at a time. So in this example, I probably have about 20 hearts, and so each heart is considered a layer. So if I were to select both of these, you'll see that slice is not lit up. So I could go and slice each one at a time, which obviously would be very time consuming. So if I take my background heart and I move it to the side, what I can do is I can select all of these little hearts and I can select weld. And what that has done is it has turned, approximately 20 hearts into one large heart. So now this is considered one layer, and I can take and put my bottom layer underneath. And then if I were to select both, you'll see that slice is now lit up. So I can slice out all of these hearts, and I'm left with one large heart with a bunch of little hearts inside of it cut out. So for my next example, what I want to show you is you can also use slice to slice words out of an image. So I have uploaded a bear into Design Space, and then I also have some flowers. And I'm going to unlock the flowers, and I'm going to change the color just so that it's easier for y'all to see. And I'm going to resize them. And since I have unlocked it, I can make it whatever size that I need. And so if I select both of these, slice is lit up, and so I can slice out the flowers out of my bear. And then I can also type out the word mama, and I'm doing this in the Sunberry font from dafont.com. And I'm going to change my letter spacing just by pressing the down arrow so that it connects my letters. And once I've done that, I'm going to weld it so it's one continuous piece. And then I'm going to change this, and I'm going to place it where I want it to be. And then I can select both objects and slice it out. And then there, if you were to click make it, your image would be cut out as one piece. So for my next example, what I want to show you is, let's say I have uploaded a picture, and in this case, a fishbowl. And let's say I really do like the image, but maybe I want only 2 fish in the fishbowl. So I could click on a shape and I could unlock it in the bottom left hand corner and resize it to fit over my fish. I could select everything and then click slice. And as you can see, I can move everything over to the right. And now I would only have 2 fish in the fish bowl. I could also put this one back in. Maybe I do like this image, but I want one of my fish to be orange. So I could then change the color of that and delete what I don't need. And then if I were to click make it, I would have my one image that is black, and then I would have my little fish that is orange. So another reason why you may want to slice is to make a stencil. So in this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few different fonts that you can slice into a square to make a stencil. So for my first example, I have the Sunberry font, I believe. And so if I right click where it says weld and I go to image result, you can see very faintly it has the font. So it is Sunberry. I'm going to select both of these and I'm going to select slice. And I can take all of the excess out and I'm left with a stencil. So like if you were creating doormats, rather than cutting out vinyl for each particular doormat, you could cut the stencil out of acetate or a thicker material, and then you would only have to cut out one stencil versus several different pieces of vinyl for each doormat. So that's one example. You could also use a stencil font for this, and when you slice it, you'll see that my stencil is connected, like all of the letters are connected to the stencil. So to give you an example of what I mean, if I were just to use a regular font and slice it, what would happen is when the Cricut cuts out the letters, the O, the inside of the O would be cut out. So this piece right here would actually not exist. So one way to create a stencil out of it is to go to shapes and take a square, and you can just resize this. And I usually make it a pretty thin line, and then you can connect it at the top. You can also do the bottom if you wanted. So I'm just going to click on duplicate, and then I will move this line to the bottom and then put this line up the top. And then if I weld it, select everything and weld, you can see that it will create a stencil. So I didn't grab that top piece when I did it. So if I weld again, this is now a stencil. And so the inside of the O would not fall out when I slice it, or excuse me, when I make it. One other reason why you may want to slice is, let's say you want to make a square. You can duplicate the square, and the second one going to change to red just so you can see it. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than my first square. And then I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go to align. I'm going to go to center. And it just placed the inside square in the center of the larger square. And then I'm going to select everything. I'm going to select slice. I can then take out my top layer and my middle layer. And then I can duplicate this, and I can rotate this, and let's say I wanted to make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. Let's say I wanted to put a name in there along with a date of their anniversary. What I could do is I could go ahead and type out their name, and I can rotate this and resize it to how I like it. And then I could put their wedding date at the bottom or the day that they met. And then once I have everything where I like it, I could then select everything, and I could attach it. So if you are having trouble picking up, so like I'm trying to click the established 2020, it's not letting me. I just select it on the layers panel, and then I can use my arrows on the keyboard to move it around the screen. So then let's say I like it the way that it is. I could then select everything, and I could weld it. And the reason why I want to weld it is so that Mike and Laura, the tails actually weld into the square. And then when I go to cut it, Mike and Laura and the squares are actually one continuous piece. The established 2020, since there are no tails on it, it's not connected to the squares, but it would still cut out. Established would be all one word. And then you could use your transfer tape or your carrier sheet to place 2020 exactly how it is on the mat. So going back to my canvas, another reason why you might want to use slice is, let's say I have a heart and I want to attach the name Mike and Laura on the side. So I can take a square and I can rotate it, and then I can slice out the side of the square, or excuse me, the side of the heart. And then once I've done that, I can take Mike and Laura and I can place it where I want it to go. And then I can select everything and weld it. And then when I go to make it, you'll see that it is one object. One other reason why you might need to slice is, let's say you have typed out happy birthday and you have a 12 by 24 mat, but you want your image to be 30 inches long. So I'm going to go ahead and change my width to 30 inches, and I will change my height to 4 inches. And then I'm going to zoom in on the canvas so that you can see the entire thing. So if I were to try to make this, I would get an error message because my happy birthday is too long for the mat. So what I could do is I could take a shape and I would take a square and I can unlock the square and resize it to fit over birthday. Select everything and slice it. And then as you see, I have happy and birthday are now two separate words. And then when I go to make it, it actually will fit on one mat, and I could cut it out and then just lay happy in front of birthday, and it would be a 30-inch long um, happy birthday sign. And then lastly, another reason why you might want to use slice is, let's say you're doing a print and cut. So with print and cut, the maximum that you can do is 6.75 by 9.25. The reason being is you have to print out the image on your printer, and the printer needs sensor marks to go around the sheet of paper that you're using. So typically a sheet of paper is 8 by 11. So it just gives room for the sensor marks for the Cricut to know where to cut. Let's say you wanted this image to be a little bit larger. Let's say you wanted it to be, we'll go with a 12 by 8.3. So what I would do is I would take a shape and I would go ahead and pick a square, and I would unlock the square, and then I could slice this image for print and cut. So I would go ahead and select everything, click slice, and then when I go to make it now, I will not have an error message because I will have two separate pages. And even though the image is larger than the 6.75 by 9.25, when I slice it, it isn't. So it would go ahead and print it as two separate images, and then you would just need to piece it together before you iron it on or stick it onto your item. So hopefully you found this video useful. Hopefully you learned something, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will be more than happy to help you out. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.